Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Girls Lounge. Hope you guys are having a great day. I have my Coke with me. I wanted to do a little ASMR for you guys because I need some energy. I don't know where my energy went, but ready? We're gonna crack it open. I feel like that was a good one. That was a good opening.
Kennedy got her drink. I got my drink too. We're ready to go.
So today's episode, we're going to be talking about how we grew up as women of color in the South. But of course, before we get into that, we are going to do our regular little segment. So first, what we have been up to. Liz, what have you been up to since the last time we talked to you?
So, been doing school, but I go to school near Cincinnati, and there was this festival this weekend, which is like the largest art light show in like the country. It's called Blink. So we went the past 3 nights. We went Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and it was really cool. It's all over Cincinnati. There's like different projections that they use for the art, and it was really neat seeing everything. But other than that, if you watched last week's episode, Kennedy was going through it, and I feel like she passed her energy to me because I'm going through it. I feel so drained right now. Like it's so bad. I don't even there's not even nothing like bad going on in my life. I just feel so emotional. I feel not even emotionally. I feel drained on every single aspect of like existing. I feel like, I'm just really feeling it and I don't know what's wrong with me. So, yeah, that's been going on.
Honestly, that's karma because Liz gave the going through it energy to me. So, the streets might say that she might deserve it. I don't know. But honestly, lately, I've just been chilling, just trying to get through these last couple months of school. I feel like the only thing that's like stressing me out a little bit is masters. I know for sure I'm gonna go straight into getting my masters after graduating, but where it's gonna be, yeah, I'm like, I don't know. I've told some of my friends that I've thought about studying abroad, and that seems like a really good opportunity. But it's truly just I have no idea where to start, even with like master programs within where I live. So, it's just like a lot that I need to like sit down and do, but I just like know is going to become like a daunting task. So that's why I keep pushing it off, but I need to stop doing that because I obviously need to apply to schools for scholarships, things like that. And I feel like now is kind of the time that I need to be applying, at least like between now and like December. So just pray for me that, I get through it.
No, because that part, Kennedy, the way there's like no guidance post grad, I feel like there should be more guidance than before because first of all, it is way more expensive, and there's just so much to it, and I feel like there's no guidance. Like, where's the energy where in high school they were like pressuring you to go to college? Where's that energy when you're in college to like continue your education?
Exactly. And look, I've kind of noticed that like at least in my classes, no one really mentions grad school. Like a lot of teachers are just like, oh yeah, when you graduate, start job searching. But I'm just like, okay, I really can't resonate with a lot of this because I will be job searching probably for another year or two. Like seriously job searching for another year or two. So I'm like, I need some help with grad school. Like I have no idea where to start.
Same, Kennedy. We'll struggle together.
And now we're going to get into our favorite of the week. So mine is the red light filter on my phone. Now, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, so y'all know how like your phone, you can turn like the night mode feature on or something like that, and it makes your screen like yellow, so it's like less blue light. Well, you can also make your phone a red light, and it's a little bit more better than the yellow, and it actually like helps me a lot because one like it like changes the whole look of a lot of things, so it doesn't even make you want to be on your phone. And I feel like I've just been like going to bed earlier because I don't know, and I feel like it's just been like a lot easier on my eyes. So for the video listeners, you'll be able to see, and I'll just explain it for the audio listeners. But I click my like power button 3 times. You have to set this up. I wouldn't know how to do this for you, but you do it 3 times. Wait, hold on, let me turn my phone on. You click it 3 times, and look, it turns red. So it's very cool. Oh, not the, not the card. You're gonna have to if you
Oh,
want to.
I I'm thinking you gotta have a certain update, and my phone don't got that update.
No, you have to go into your settings, and you like go to like accessibility or something, and you just have to like turn on. You just have to turn it on somehow. I'll send you a screenshot or something this later of what I follow, but it just really helps me a lot at night.
My favorite of the week is the drink I'm drinking right now. It is a mango matcha milk tea, and then I added tapioca to it. And it's exquisite, amazing, refreshing, everything I needed after I got off of work today.
And now we're gonna get into our Girls Down Sports Corner, which if you want to see little snippets of our sports corner, you should definitely go follow us on TikTok because those be popping off low key. But anyway, so today that we're recording this is Sunday, so y'all know what that means. Race day, and it was in Austin. So I'm literally in the same time zone as Austin, so I literally had the privilege of sleeping in, didn't have to wake up early for the race, which I love. It was at 2 p.m. my time. Amazing. I'm like, wow, this is what dreams are made of. So it was an Austin GP, and I have determined I need to go to this race before I die. It is just such a big race. It was so cool. Even the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders were there, which I was like, this is Austin. Why are they here? But you know, it was part of the vibes, and it was so good. And it was a sprint weekend, and I love a good sprint weekend. I think Miami was a sprint weekend, so I was very reminiscent of that because that was the first ever Formula race that I watched. But basically, if you don't know what a sprint weekend is and what makes it different than like a regular race weekend, is basically instead of like practice 2 and 3, it's a sprint quali and then the sprint race, which is essentially 19 laps around the track, just truly going as fast as you can. And I think everyone's on the same tires. So it's like just truly like a mini race. And it's essentially more like there's a saying, it's like heavy to the metal, pushing the metal. I don't know. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Whereas regular qualifying is more strategic. You're not pushing as hard, but you're really like pushing the limit during sprint. So it really shakes things up. And then today, such a good race. Y'all know what I'm gonna say. Forza Ferrari! Whoop whoop! If you don't know what that means like Ferrari power. You know, a little Italian lesson. So it was a Ferrari 1-2. It was Charles first, Carlos second. In fact, it was the first Ferrari 1-2 in the States since 2006. The first lap, I always love the first lap of races because they're always so crazy. Like, so much always happens. Hamilton was out first lap. Lando, he started off the race on pole position, but he sadly lost it because him and Max were battling, and that's why Charles was able to go through while they were battling it out. They left a space on like the outside. No, wait, the inside. I don't know, one of those. And Charles was able to, go through, and I was like, period. I love when that happens. And yeah, and honestly, Lando and Max were battling the whole time, and it was crazy, even down to the end. And there was lots of battles, but throughout the race, literally from the people at the top to the people at the end. So it was a really good race to watch, and I loved it. Can't wait for next week. Next week they're gonna be in Mexico, so it's gonna be a good race for Checo because home race. Oh, and then if you didn't know, so there's a thing called IndyCar, which is very similar to Formula One, like in terms of like what the cars look like. But McLaren has a team in IndyCar called Arrow McLaren, and they have a Mexican driver as well on that team, and his name is Pato Award, and he's going to be driving in the F1 car in FP1, I believe. So I think that'll be really interesting to see him in a F1 car. So yeah, those are my thoughts about this race weekend. It was a very good race.
I'm personally just waiting for the edits of like the celebrations or the pictures because I know that they're gonna put Charles and Carlos in cowboy hats, and I simply need to see that.
Yeah, and I already been getting some TikToks about like how like when they win, like they're like very like dramatic over the mic. And so they brought up this old one from Carlos, and it's like El Matador, El Matador. And it's just so like and then they call, I forget what they call Charles, but it's just so good. I cannot wait for those edits later.
And with that, it's time to move into the pop culture and trendy topic. We do not have a good note for today. If you've been living under a rock, that's the only way you haven't heard about this. But it's officially been 1 week since. Oh no, it hasn't. It'll be a week when this is posted, not when we're recording. But Liam passed away from One Direction. Moment of silence. When I got the notification on my phone, I was about to go do dishes And I was literally like leaving my room and I look at my Apple Watch because I get like news notifications on there. And I see the notification and then I'm like, wait a second. And then it's from like CNN. So I'm like, I immediately turn back around and I FaceTime my friend Kelsey and I show her the news article. I was shocked.
I think everyone will forever remember where they were. And like it was a shock for me, and I wouldn't classify myself as a directioner, but they were still a big part of my childhood. I loved, listening to their songs, watching, funny clips of them, things like that. So I was very much shook. So I remember where I was. I was in that bed right behind me. And I was just sitting there chilling. It was a Wednesday. And I just like randomly got on TikTok. The first TikTok I get is saying Liam Payne from One Direction dead. I said, dead. I was like, I was in disbelief for like a good couple seconds, and I was like, is this even real? And then I think I went to like Instagram or something first, and then I saw in the group chat that there was like a lot of messages. Then I went and I saw everybody freaking out because I was like about to send it to the group chat, like, oh my god, Liam Payne just died. And wow, what a shock that was.
When all the posts came out too, from like first the post on the One Direction account, the way it was the first post since like 2022, I think, or 2020. Like that was the first post since then. And then just all the posts from the boys that followed. Yeah, that really like set everything in. I think that like as things have started to slowly come out, it just gets more and more crazier. I think the TMZ article, yeah, someone needs to get TMZ in check because ain't no way that they're posting like pictures of the body and everything. That's just messed up on a whole other level. And then the post from Bear's mom that she posted, I don't know her name, but she posted a Instagram post basically saying like her son like seeing everything, like it's just crazy.
Now we need to start a petition for TMZ to be shut down because that is actually crazy. Like they have a track record of just not acting very ethically, and bye bye TMZ. But yeah, it's just the story. Like the more that comes out, the more sad it is. Just like seeing how it has affected, like his family, the other One Direction members. Like Zayn has postponed the first part of his tour. Oh, and just seeing like how Liam was acting in his final moments, it's just very sad. I legit, y'all, the edits I have popped up on TikTok, I literally cried like 2 different days in a row just because of the edits. Like, ugh, like editors, stop using pink skies. That's gonna bring me to tears every single time.
The edits to Pink Skies, the part where it says they're coming home for a funeral, like stop. Literally. Oh my gosh. And then today I was going to Pilates and on my playlist As It Was came up and it hits on a whole other level now. Like there's a whole new meaning to it. And then I got out the car and at the shopping plaza where I take Pilates, Why Was Diana by One Direction playing? Like it's literally haunting me everywhere I go.
And I saw the streams for One Direction literally skyrocketed after that because everyone was playing One Direction. Literally Wednesday night when I took a shower, literally only listen to One Direction. I was gonna say movies. Only listen to One Direction music. Like we just have to. Like I think everybody was truly in disbelief, and it's crazy. Like the internet was just clowning him. And what do you know? If you're living under a rock and you're like, what is it? Like we're the first people telling you about this? Oh, I'm so sorry. Imagine hearing it from us first. That would actually suck. He fell from his balcony in Argentina. Yeah, Argentina. 3 stories. But I don't know if we should like talk about this. I mean, allegedly he died instantly, which I think is good because that means no more pain. Because I don't like when people have to die in pain.
I think what makes it even more like shocking, I feel like it's the first like death that's really like impacting our generation because I feel like other deaths it's like people we weren't as connected, but this is like literally like a band that like had an impact like on our childhood and everything in a way. I think it's just crazy like you're actually like seeing it now, you know? He was so young, literally barely like 32 or 31, I think.
Yeah, he was 31. Like just like that age is crazy because like I kind of mentioned this to Kelsey and Elizabeth, where it's like seeing all these older pictures of them, it just like hits even harder because it's like we were growing up with them. Like we were young, they were also young. They're not too far off in terms of like being older than us. So it's just like crazy, like what he's 31. Like he's only a couple years older than my brother and he's gone and he's leaving a son behind. It's just all very sad. But it's very sweet because I saw TikToks where like Liam has like tattoos of like arrows and people saw like arrows in the sky. I thought that was very cute. And yeah, if you believe in that type of stuff, then that can be very comforting.
I just know that there's gonna be edits to that with pink skies now.
Now we're gonna get into what we have been watching. Y'all, I finally started that show. Well, I finished it, but I started Friday night. Nobody wants this. Wow. Bro, I can't believe I did not start it sooner, but I'm kind of glad I did because, the hype kind of went down. But whoa. If you have not watched that show yet, literally watch it right now. It is so freaking good. Like, it just was so reminiscent of like early 2000s, 2010s, like rom coms and stuff. And I just loved it. It was a perfect blend of funny, romantic, and like a little bit of serious as well. It was just so good. And I love Adam Brody. And yeah, it's confirmed for a season 2, and I'm gonna be sad. And also it let me have some like thought provoking thoughts. So I thought that was really interesting as well.
Emphasis on it feeling like a rom com in the best way possible. Like, that is the kind of energy that I need in my life.
Exactly what Liz said. Like it was just the perfect show. Literally binged it in 2 days, and then I honestly have just continued watching more of Heartstopper season 3 and continuing the newest season of Love is Blind because, we gotta balance it out. Because Heartstopper season 3, when I tell you, it's a little bit triggering for me, but I'm trying to push through because it is still so good and the way they're handling the topics is really good. So, on that note, we still gotta have some happiness. And so, watching Love is Blind, and of course, they're a hot mess. So, these people irritate me and it makes me like sometimes I get into my head where I'm like, oh, like I would really love to, just have somebody, just have a man in my life. But then I see these people on Love is Blind. I'm like, wow, what a mess the dating pool is right now. And I'm so glad I'm not in it. So shows like that honestly make me happy to be single. So yeah, that's what I've been watching. Hopefully next week I would have finished Heartstopper and Love is Blind, and I can give y'all more of my like overall thoughts because I'm still very early in both of those shows.
I also started Heartstopper. I'm only on episode 2, but the way I thought I was like way further into it because of like how heavy the topics are. Watching Heartstopper, and I'm still watching Gilmore Girls, but y'all, I finally have been introduced to Jess. If you know, you know. And I know I've said this before, but the tension between Lorelai and Luke continues. And I'm only on season 2. I don't know how much longer I can go through this of watching them not admit that they like each other.
And now on to song of the week. So my song, we have a French song this week. If there's any French listeners, which I don't think we have any, sorry for my pronunciation, okay? I'm still learning. So it's called Écoutez, and it's by Vingetti Summer. I don't know. But I know Écoutez, it means like listen, honey, I'm pretty sure. But I'm going to play a little snippet of it to you guys. And people say like when you're learning a new language, like it's good to like listen to like songs and stuff. And like I get it because like I be repeating stuff I don't even know what it means, which is kind of like a bad thing because I could be saying something bad, but oops. So I'm gonna play a part that I like. Yeah, I really like that part. I'm pretty sure j'ai pas le temps means I have no time. So when I come on this podcast being bilingual and being fluent in French, like just know this was the beginning.
So I'm switching up my song of the week, and no, in honor of Liam in One Direction, I'm doing a One Direction song. We're doing Story of My Life. Seems to me that when I die, these words will be written on my... And with that, you guys, we're gonna get on to the topic, which is growing up women of color in the South.
Yeah, so basically we're just going to talk about our experience. I feel like it would be good for us to get into our background at first, because although we do offer this podcast on YouTube, some people listen, so like they don't know what we look like, yada yada yada. So we're just gonna be talking about like our background, our experiences, and things like that. So I'll let Liz go first on explaining her background, who she is, yada yada yada.
I am Mexican American. I'm like first generation technically, right? Because I'm like the first one like born here. So yeah, my parents immigrated from Mexico. So my family is has no roots in this country. But so it's a lot. I feel like a lot of my experiences are gonna tie into more of like my ethnicity, and I guess like obviously there'll be things with the South, but like it's a mix of both, but not too much of like the like American South influence. I feel like overall. I grew up in a predominantly white city. I would say it's like urbanish, right? I think I don't really I be getting urban confused honestly, but it's not a city and it's not rural. So I think it's urban is what it would be
Suburban,
categorized as.
maybe.
Suburban. Yeah, I think it's suburban. Yeah. So grew up in it's not very big town either, like smaller town, but still like you don't know everybody, but like you do know everybody at the same time. On like seeing like my race or like my ethnicity and all that kind of stuff, I feel like I was aware of it because like going in school and everything, I'm the oldest by the way of my siblings. So I was like put in like the English as a second language classes and everything. So I feel like just if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically in your household you don't speak English as the first language, so they put you like in these classes to like learn English basically. And so like I feel like that whole experience it was like I had to be aware of who I was, or like what I looked like because they literally come into your classroom and they like take you out and you're literally in a room with people that like in my case a lot of people like look like me, but it's basically anyone who doesn't speak English and you're just like learning English. So I feel like that forced me to be aware of like my nationality, ethnicity and all that kind of stuff. But it's not like something like in my household that like we talked about like distinctly like the differences I feel like.
Okay, so you couldn't tell if you're watching, I'm African American. I have roots deep in America because, we all know about that word called slavery. Most of my family is like from Kentucky, born and raised. Like I know my like grandma on my dad's side of the family roots start in Western Kentucky. My grandfather has roots down in like the deep south in Alabama. But mostly I would say most of my roots though is like Lexington, Louisville. Me and Liz, I mean, we've known each other since elementary school, so grew up in the same predominantly white city. But honestly, I don't know. I feel like obviously I was aware of it because I was just exposed to it at a very young age. My parents were very open about it and like let me see it. I mostly just saw it through the news. Something that stands out to me that I can like say kind of describes my experience as a black woman in America is when I was younger in elementary school around the ages of like 7 to 10, I vividly remember seeing like the Black Lives Matter movements on the news after like the murders of Trayvon Martin and like Eric Gardner and many more. And I was just very aware of that from a very young age. While, some of my white friends didn't even know that those murders happened until they were like 17 years old when there was like a huge resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement. Not a resurgence because it has been going on, but just got a lot more attention because like we were like all home. A lot more people are getting educated, I assume. So yeah, I would feel like that really describes my experience. And I feel like similar to Liz, like my family, we didn't really like talk about those differences at home. It was just like it is what it is. I don't know. It's sometimes I feel weird talking about my experience just because like I feel like it isn't like it isn't like the typical what you would expect, but like I still have some type of experience because obviously I'm a minority, so obviously there is going to be a difference in my experience than white people.
Yes, that part, Kennedy. I feel like just like growing up like in a urban area or suburban, that's what you said. Area, I feel like that like contributes to that because we didn't grow up like in a area like where we were I mean, obviously like you're still marginalized in systemic ways and everything, but it's not like if you're growing up in like a city and then you grow up like on the west end of the city or like the really bad area of that city. Like you really see those things there. I feel like where we grew up, you didn't really see that kind of stuff. So I feel like our experience is different, but it's still like our experience. So it's still like a lived truth and everything, you know?
Exactly. And I think a part of that is also like I feel like I hear really bad racism stories from like people in the deep south. But it's like I guess to some people Kentucky may be the south, but it's like I don't know, just kind of in the middle. So obviously there's the really really super racist part, but we kind of live in more diverser parts. So it's not like, yes, I might have been like the only black person or black girl in some parts, but it's like, I didn't grow up only around, white people. Like, there was other black people in my classes. There were, well, honestly, I don't really remember seeing any Asians, to be honest, very few. There were some Hispanics. So, it wasn't like I was, super, marginalized, but I was still marginalized, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like it's not like in the movies. I don't want to say like in the movies because it is real life, but like where you grow up and people are just like using racial slurs at you, like that part in the South, it's definitely that was, at least for me, that wasn't my experience personally.
I agree. I would say there definitely maybe some comments you probably have heard that were like, oh, that's questionable. But yeah, if I feel like for both of us, we never really experienced like very over it, like racism in your face. Which I guess is like a good thing, but sucks for people who have. And obviously we know that still exists. But yeah. So now we're gonna get more into like our experiences. I think everyone who is part of a marginalized community can relate to the whole white name thing. So I personally have been told this by mostly, or not mostly, only other black people, and that's like not saying anything. That just so happens the only people that have told me that that Kennedy is such a white name, blah blah blah. But honestly, I think one, my parents really like that name, and two, I'm sure a lot of minorities can relate to getting a certain name to help you get a job later in life. I feel like that's definitely a big aspect of why like me and my brother have kind of what others might say a white name, but I don't know, I feel like my name is cute, and I feel like names do not have a race or ethnicity tied to it. Okay.
That part, like we as humans add all that stuff to it. But like I also have like a white name. My name's literally Elizabeth. I don't have like a middle name, so it's not like it's Elizabeth and like then a Mexican middle name. It's just Elizabeth, y'all. um, but and then out of my siblings, I have like the white name. Like my brother and sister have a name that like some people can't pronounce, or it's like, oh, like how do you say that again? I don't get told how do you say that again with my name. But yeah, like Kennedy, it wasn't like any reason to it. It's just a name that my mom liked and it just stuck and everything. But yeah.
And then another thing that me and Liz have both been told is that we're not brown or black enough. I'll let Liz explain her experience with that phrase.
Oh my goodness. So I feel like honestly, this kind of stuff, it has like the part where it comes from people with that are like also identify the same as you, and then the part that comes from like a white person saying this stuff to you. And I feel like honestly the whole like, I don't know, the way that you're perceived from like both sides of that coin, it's very similar, but I feel like it carries a different meaning to it depending on where it's coming from. So I would say for me, like the whole like you're not brown enough is like I don't do things that a lot of like stereotypical like Mexicans do.
For me, honestly, when I hear that, I'm just like, y'all, black people are not a monolith. So many things influence who we are. When it comes from like people who, are also black, I'm just like, okay, why are we trying? I feel like, why are we trying to bring each other down? Why are we trying to reinforce, I guess you could say, the stereotypes put on us by our oppressors? I feel like, let's cut that out. And I do understand that there are people who just like live that life, but that's totally fine. But we also have to acknowledge that not everybody lives like that, and so many of our ancestors have pushed for us to not live like that. So I don't know, I feel like that's an important thing. And then when it comes from people who aren't black, it's just like, It's usually from people I would say who, are really into our culture. And to me, I'm just like, okay, you can believe that I'm not black enough, all that, all you want. But at the end of the day, you will never understand what it's like to be black in this country. Like, you will never know what it's like when the police pull over. You have a little fear in your heart because you see people who look like your family members getting shot and killed, things like that. So, I just kind of take it with a grain of salt. And I feel like what comes with this is being not brown or black enough is people like will assume that we're whitewashed just because the way we might dress or music we listen to, things we like. But it's just like sometimes, even for me, because there's a stereotype that black people are loud and I'm more quiet. So I feel like sometimes that can make people uncomfortable.
Yes, I think Kennedy put it perfectly. It's like I feel like this whole notion of like you're not brown enough or you're not black enough, it's literally giving into the stereotypes that are put on us. So it's very much like defeating the whole like empowerment of it. Like we're giving into the stereotypes. We're literally letting them have power over us because the stereotypes, it's not universal. Like just because you don't do a certain thing doesn't mean that you're suddenly like not brown or you're not black enough, like you're still like your skin isn't changing, bro. You still got that, so I think it really is just like putting those stereotypes on us, like if it's coming within your community, and then when it's coming outside the community, I mean, it's the oppressor, doing their thing. But it's very much just like putting labels on us, and I feel like it just limits us as individuals overall because we're just giving into all of that and thinking that like it's either this or that, like there's no beyond that side. It's all like black or white when it's literally not. And then like the whole whitewashed, it literally like contributes to that. That's literally like I hate being told like, oh, like you're just whitewashing anything. Like there's like sometimes I know me personally, I will like not do something because I know that like a certain person will say that like, oh, like she's whitewashed or anything. So like I like try not to do certain things or like act a certain way just so I'm not told that because like I don't know, I feel like when you're gonna get told that.
Yeah, I feel that. Especially, I feel like I felt more that like separation more like in high school. When I had a lot more, friends that came from the same race as me. Like I knew that, like, for example, music. I listen to all types of music. I just want to put that out there. But I knew that maybe if I, mentioned more mainstream pop artists such as like Taylor Swift, I can't remember who else was popping back when we were in high school. It'd be like, oh, he's whitewashed. Or just even like certain clothes that I would wear. I guess like I would just get kind of like weird comments, weird looks, and like things that you wouldn't even think were shady, but because they're your people, that it's shady in like your cultural way. So just like I just kind of like let it slide off my shoulder, whatever they call it. But it's just like, come on now.
Yes, the whole music thing, literally relate to that so much, Kennedy. And honestly, at least for me personally, I feel like the whole you're not brown enough, you're not black enough type stuff, it comes more from people within the community than outside of the community. I feel like I have to be more like on guard, I would say, just because I know that those comments are going to come. And honestly, I'm not even going to lie, like, I don't feel like I've really been told that by like a white person or anything.
Yeah, I feel you on the on guard thing.
And with that, our next part of our experience is the whole you're the rich kind of person. Yeah. Do you want to start, Kennedy, or do you want me to go?
I can go. And why I put this on there is that is a literal exact comment someone told me, sixth grade, in choir class. You're the rich kind of black person. And that just really bothered me. Again, coming from another black person, because if you know me, like, not to put my business out there, but like, I'm not rich. I don't come from like, like a ton of money, but like my parents, they work hard, not saying other people who don't work hard, because there are plenty of people who work hard, but, because of the way life is, sometimes, their effort just isn't seen. But it's just annoying, and I feel like a part of it comes from my family in general, I would say, holds themselves to a certain standard, and I definitely think that's like a generational thing in terms of like growing up with the racial tensions. People of color had to come correct, look a certain way. So it's just, I feel like those standards and ideas have just always, they've trickled down. Like, for example, I've always grown up like, you better not walk out the house looking a mess. And I feel like there's definitely some historical, context background to that.
I have also been told like, "Oh, like you're the rich kind of Mexican," like that kind of comment before so many times. And what's crazy, it's from people my own age. And I'm like, "Bro, like honestly, like yes, my family is well off and everything, but also it's like wasn't from overnight type thing. It was literally something like the lifestyle or like the house that I currently like live in at home is completely different from like the apartment that I like first lived in when I was born and everything. Like you can't just judge someone off of what you see. And hearing this kind of stuff, I'm like, y'all don't know what my parents have done to like work and like the hours, the stress, literally the everything that they have put in to provide for me and my siblings. So like honestly, now I feel like I have a different outlook. Like when I'm told that, it's like, no, I'm not rich, but like that's my parents, that's their hard work paying off and everything, you know? And I hate it when people tell me this so much because you don't know like what goes on behind the scenes of someone's finances. Like it's very easy for you to see like a brand new car, but like that car probably not even theirs. Like it's probably like on a lease or something. Like they have monthly payments on everything. Like you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And I feel like you can't just judge people just off what you see and everything. Like if they're presenting themselves a different way, I feel like that's sometimes like a different situation. But it's just so like that's one of my biggest pet peeves when I'm told that because I'm like, you don't know anything about me. And it's always from people that like you don't really interact with that always say this.
Exactly. Like I remember it was like a kind of throwaway comment from someone when I was on the cheer team. She was like trying to do fundraising or something. And she like looked at my outfit and it was more okay, it was like more like name brand stuff. Ugh, that's kind of cringe. And she was like, "Oh, you got money." And I was just like, haha, laughed it away, but like no, truly it's like it's not that I don't have money, but it's just like, my parents they work hard for that. Like people who say anything again, like Liz said, like I was not friends with this girl. Like you truly don't know anything. My dad works pretty much every day, long hours, barely gets any sleep. My mom works every day. There's even some parts of my life where she got a second job, and my parents they like nice things, so that's why they work. And went to school, all that other stuff. And then obviously my grandparents, both sides, worked hard as well. So, sometimes they help give me and my siblings stuff. And, they just like nicer things. And it's like Liz brought up the house thing. And it's like for me, I live in a smaller house, but my parents like the mortgage is paid off, so that money that would go towards a mortgage goes towards other things so they can get nicer things. As the years go on, my parents get paid more, so it's just like thing that you might see in a moment is like years of hard work. And my parents love a good deal. So, like you might see like I remember one time there's a friend that me and Liz had in common back in the day who made a comment about Liz's financial situation and my financial. And I remember she brought up like, Kennedy, like you wear American Eagle and pink, y'all. When I tell you 90% of that stuff has been gotten on sale. Like, I'm just not out here, my parents just aren't out here spending heck of money on things like that. But yeah, that's my 2 cents about that.
No, that part, like when I wear like my, Aerie leggings and everything, I have never paid full price for anything at Aerie. It is all on clearance or there's some sale going on. I just feel like it's very much just judging people off of what you see. And you really can't do that because you don't know what they've put into. And I feel like that comment overall is different because they're putting the stereotypes on the on you and everything like you're brown, you're black, you're whatever, you shouldn't live this way type thing. And it's like a backhanded compliment like, "Oh, you got money. You shouldn't have money. You should be living in the apartments down the street or in the trailer park down the street," you know? It's just a whole different type of meaning to it.
Exactly. I was nodding so hard my earphone fell out. Like that's exactly it. That is the foundation of that comment. Because we are minorities and maybe the other person on the end may not be a minority. They think because they are white that they should be up above us. But that is not how life works, okay? Okay. That's giving the same energy as these immigrants are taking our job, but who's in there working? The immigrants, okay? Okay.
Yeah, Kennedy seeking facts today. And like honestly, that comment also comes from like people within your community like saying that because again, they're giving into the stereotypes like, "Oh, because we're people of color, we should be like at a different type of level." Like yes, systemically it is like harder and you have all these other obstacles, but like just because of that doesn't mean you can't have that. Like yes, you have to work twice as hard, like four times as hard as like a white person and everything, but just because someone has it doesn't mean that they did something differently than you. Like they're still working hard and everything.
Exactly. And we're gonna, before we, rant about this the whole episode, because we could probably have a lot more to say, I'm gonna switch a little bit into maybe like feeling out of place in our predominantly white spaces that we're in. For me, it's kind of weird because honestly, I feel like I didn't really feel this until my freshman year of college. Like, obviously, growing up, I obviously have had moments where I'm like, oh, like, I'm the only black person in this room. I'm the only one that's aware of this and that. But truly, I've never felt that uncomfortable with it until my freshman year of college. And that's kind of like a part of why I transferred. I go to WKU now. I went to EKU. And I just feel like the environment at EKU I was honestly just not really that comfortable in it. I didn't necessarily feel safe at points. Like, I always grew up in predominantly white spaces, but EKU, like that diversity was even way less than like my hometown. And Western Kentucky is just so much more. I mean, it's still a PWI, like, and especially in the business school, like black people, okay, I wouldn't say very far few between, but like definitely see it a lot more. And if I do happen to be like the only black girl in the class or black person in general, like I have never felt it. I've always felt included. Like, and I feel like EKU, like people are kind of in a way scared to talk to me. I don't know. But I just felt way more comfortable in a place with a bit more diversity.
I would say I have a different experience from Kennedy. I feel like growing up, I was never really like aware of like I mean I was aware obviously, but it never affected me or anything where it wasn't like I felt like I was being treated differently other than being pulled out for them ESL classes. But like it wasn't anything like crazy, you know? But I feel like as I grew up more, I feel like in high school and in college is when I kind of started to notice it, like noticing I would be the only like Mexican in especially in high school, like I felt like I was the only Mexican taking like dual credit classes or like AP classes. It'd be like me and like three other people, I feel like. And then in college, like even in my classes now, I do be the only Mexican. Like definitely like I do try to like seek out like other people that like might relate to me in that kind of sense. And that helps and everything, like finding a community. Because there's like things like even with your closest friend, if they don't like have that same experience, like sometimes it's like they don't really understand it, you know? So being able to find someone who like has lived your experience and everything or a similar experience because it's not going to be the same really does help. But I think I have like as I've grown older noticed that like I am the only one of me in places or like if I see a Hispanic last name like oh like someone like I enter a room and I do seek out like other like Hispanics or I'll like seek out like specifically other like Hispanic women and everything. So like in that sense, but I feel like I have felt a feeling out of place within my own community and we'll probably talk about this like later on in other things, but I have felt kind of out of place because I don't like live or experience I feel like that like stereotypical like Mexican or Hispanic um life and everything. There's like certain things that like I don't relate to or certain things that I do relate to, but I feel like out of place within my community. And I've like talked to my mom about this so many times, but like a clear example is I feel like at church there's like I only talk to like after church and everything, like people will like gather and talk and you know and everything. I'll like talk to like the friends that I grew up with, but like other people I don't really interact because I feel out of place within like that community and everything. So I feel like for me it's a feeling out of place with other like Hispanics, specifically like other Mexicans.
Like Liz, I can relate to, sometimes feeling out of place within your community because, there's different experiences. Like there's some people who live more the stereotypical, like what you would expect. So sometimes it can be hard to find common ground. Like, yeah, like I remember, okay, I feel like, okay, one stereotypical thing some Black people might relate on is, not having a dad. I have had Black friends in the past who, had a dad, but maybe not have been in their lives, as much as mine is, because like their parents might not be together, things like that. So that can be like a conflict. I remember one guy, he asked me in high school, he was like, do you know your dad? Like, yes, I know my dad. I've known him my whole life. I mean, he lives with me. And so just like little things like that can be like, ooh, or just even sometimes like oh my God, music or movies in it where they're like, oh, if you don't watch this movie, are you really Black? If you don't know this song or listen to this artist, are you really Black?
Yes, I feel like for me it's like being asked if I like know how to dance to a certain like or do a certain dance. If you don't know, like in Mexican culture, like a really big thing is like dancing. There's like all these different types of dances, y'all, to different types of music and everything. And honestly, I didn't grow up in a household that really went to like all these parties and everything, so I really wasn't exposed to like doing these dances and everything. So like, and if you know anything about me, I can't dance, y'all. Like Kennedy, she's agreeing. I can't dance. But like people will like ask me like, oh, like you know how to like dance norteñas or like dance like merengue, like I don't know, like all this other stuff. I'm like, no, like honestly, I like, and I feel so judged when they like, oh, like you're that kind of Mexican. Like, what do you mean by that? You know? I will like honestly like I wish I could know how to dance that way. Like somebody teach me please. But like I'll like there's like a party or something. I need to make sure that I know who's gonna go, who I can like talk to and like gather and sit with and everything. Cause I'm not gonna be out there dancing and everything, you know? So I feel like that's like my version of that question.
Hello, this is Editing Kennedy jumping in real quick. Hopefully, my audio is good, but I wanted to say this episode ends kind of abruptly because we had some unforeseen audio issues. So that's why towards the end, it just cuts to me getting into the outro parts of our episode. So sorry about that, but hope you still enjoyed the episode. So since we talked about a lot of deeper subjects, I thought it'd be good to kind of end it off on an empowerment note. Empowerment of our cultures, our communities, yada yada yada. And so I just want to bring up like we might have said like all of our things about like our community that we may have an issue with, or just the way others treat our community. But at the end of the day, I know we're both proud of our cultures. I love being Black, love my people, my food, my music, slang, etc. And like a part of why I was excited to do this podcast with Liz is because we're both minorities. And I was like, in my mind, like, I want this podcast to be a place where just anybody can just come in, even like, especially minority girls, and just be authentically you with no judgment, and that minorities can be successful in quote unquote white spaces, with us pursuing what we're pursuing through our college degrees and through our podcast, and that there are more sides to Black and brown people than just the stereotypes that have been put on us. And you can really tell with all the segments that we talk about on our show. Well, thank you guys for listening to this episode. Don't forget to rate, review, leave a comment, like, subscribe, all those type of things, and share the show with a friend. We really want to reach as many people as possible, and doing those things can really help us out. And we will talk to you guys next Wednesday. Bye.